Welcome to this explainer. So, picture this. You're sitting on your couch right now, phone in hand, and you are scrolling through absolutely nothing. You've checked every app twice, you're not hungry, you're not tired, you're just bored. So what do? You open an app you don't even really like, and you watch a video you definitely won't remember tomorrow. Sound familiar? Right. Well, I want you to imagine that exact feeling. That specific restlessness, that weird itch behind your eyes that just needs something, literally anything to do. Guess what? Your ancient ancestors felt it too. And the radical idea we're exploring today is that what they did with that exact feeling is actually what built human civilization.
Okay, let's dive into this. Because for most of human history, scientists, and honestly the general public too, assumed our ancestors were simply way too busy surviving to ever be bored. Find food, don't get eaten, sleep, and repeat. The idea that a prehistoric human had spare time, it seemed almost offensive, like some luxury that evolution just couldn't possibly afford. We picture them constantly on the run, endlessly struggling with absolutely zero spare time. But they were wrong.
The data we actually have is genuinely shocking. When researchers study modern hunter-gatherers, we're talking about groups like the Hadza in Tanzania or the Kung San in the Kalahari, who live in ways closest to our ancient ancestors. They find something wild. These groups do not spend all day hunting, not even close. They spend, on average, just 4 to 6 hours a day on survival tasks. That covers the whole shebang: hunting, gathering, preparing food, and fixing up tools. The rest of that massive 19-hour chunk of the day, it's just sleep and free time.
That leaves about 4 to 6 hours of purely unstructured time every single day, where they have literally nothing they have to do. And this massive, daily gap of time, it is the actual birthplace of almost everything that makes us uniquely human. Because when all the survival chores were finally done, our ancestors had to figure out how to fill the hours.
Let's move to and see how this builds across the sheer scale of human history. 75,000 years ago, we see engraved ochre and beads popping up at Blombo's cave. 50,000 years ago, someone makes a bone flute at Diva Bob. 45,500 years ago, a pig gets painted on a cave wall in Sulawesi. For tens of thousands of years, humans have been creating art and music for absolutely no practical reason other than to just fill the time.
What's really fascinating is when you look closely at this early art. In Sulawesi, someone painted that pig in red ochre over 45,500 years ago. Over in El Castillo Cave in Spain, we find these 40,000-year-old red dots. And in Chauvet Cave in France, the horses, lions, and rhinos are painted with such staggering, lifelike detail and perspective that when experts first discovered them, they actually assumed they were forgeries from 1994. But here's the thing. These paintings weren't maps, they weren't instructions, they were just the result of a restless person who simply had the time, picked up some ochre, and had this burning urge to make something. Art didn't come from some spontaneous magical spark of genius, it came from boredom.
And we can trace this back even further to the very first jewelry. 75,000 years ago in Blombo's cave, someone found 39 tiny shell beads, painstakingly drilled holes into every single one of them, and strung them together into a necklace. Think about the profound meaning there. Making jewelry required not just free time, but a real sense of self. It meant that this person actually cared about what other people thought of them, and that decorating themselves was worth hours of effort, purely to be perceived by others. Which brings us to an incredible realization. Every single outfit you pick out, every photo you post online, that is 75,000 years of needing to be seen, still very much alive inside you. This connects directly to us. That ancient urge for decoration, it never vanished. When you're carefully curating your appearance or tweaking your social media profile today, you are channeling the exact same restless energy of that ancient human sitting in a cave 75 millennia ago, stringing shells together just because they wanted to be noticed.
Then we have the invention of music. Let's compare survival value versus human value for a second. Researchers found a bear femur flute in Diva Bab and a mammoth ivory flute in Holofel's cave. From a pure survival standpoint, the value is zero. A flute does not kill prey, it definitely doesn't keep you warm, and it certainly doesn't build you a shelter. But its human value? Immeasurable. It costs practically nothing in survival terms, yet music exists in every single human culture on Earth, without a single exception. Humans universally just couldn't stop themselves from making it.
But our ancestors didn't just play music, they played games. In Egypt, we've got the Senet board game dating all the way back to 3500 BC. In Mesopotamia, the royal game of is 4,600 years old, and it even came with its own rulebook. Over in Turkey, researchers dug up sheep knuckle-bone dice that are over 5,000 years old. Games aren't just some cultural fluke. They are a biological constant that humans have passionately engaged in for millennia.
So the crucial point is understanding the definition of play itself. Play is an actual biological mechanism. It builds the neural pathways we need for coordination, for strategy, and for predicting outcomes. Young mammals do it all the time, right? Lion cubs wrestle, wolf pups chase each other around. But humans uniquely continue to play far, far into adulthood. Playing sports, breaking out a complex board game, or spending hours on video games isn't wasted time. It is millions of years of a highly complex brain looking for a game to run simply because it has free time to fill.
And in all that downtime, you know what else they did? They talked. A staggering 66%, that's roughly 2/3 of all conversation across human cultures, is about social relationships. Basically gossip. Who did what, who said what, about who. And anthropologist Robin Dunbar points out this wasn't some shameful habit, it was vital social technology. Sitting around the campfire during those long, boring afternoons, our ancestors gossiped. And that talk wove the massive, intricate webs of trust and reputation that made large-scale human cooperation possible in the first place.
The dark side of boredom. The brain demands stimulation. But we have to admit, having all this unstructured time wasn't always peaceful. Psychologist John Eastwood points out something really fascinating here. Boredom isn't simply having nothing to do. It is the feeling of being unable to find anything worth doing. When the brain is deeply unsatisfied and that restless state persists, it becomes incredibly dangerous. The brain starts to literally malfunction and actively looks for trouble just to feel something.
Which leads us straight into the danger of downtime. Historically speaking, when food was heavily stockpiled and there was no immediate chore to do, or when hunting was just poor, violence spiked. Raiding parties almost always set out during periods of low activity. Intertribal violence skyrocketed. And you can see this ancient biology playing out today, right? Bored teenagers causing trouble in the neighborhood, or historians tracing entire devastating wars back to periods of societal stagnation and mass restlessness. Our brains absolutely needed stimulation, and sometimes they found it through conflict.
And this brilliantly illustrates a massive collision happening in our daily lives right now. Think about it. Ancient boredom meant making things by hand, moving through wild landscapes, solving real tangible problems, and talking face to face. It forced action and creation. Modern boredom? It's entirely passive. It's screen-mediated. It provides this weird half-stimulation that just leaves us endlessly unsatisfied. Our ancient, deeply biological drive to create is colliding head-on with an endless stream of passive screen time.
This represents the complete paradigm shift for our species. For 3 million years, boredom was the absolute engine of human creativity. But today, the moment that restlessness shows up, you kill it. The very first paintings, the first songs, the first jokes around the campfire were born purely because our ancestors didn't have a phone in their pocket to scroll away their restlessness. They were forced to invent something new just to scratch that itch.
Which brings us to our final question, and a real challenge I want to leave you with today. You have more tools to kill boredom than any human who has ever lived. But by instantly killing your boredom, are you killing your creativity too? The next time you feel that itch, that familiar restlessness creeping up while you're sitting on the couch, maybe don't reach for the screen. Let yourself be bored for a minute and just see what you build instead. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. I hope this completely changes how you view your free time. See you on the next one.